hey, good day. This is Todd. I'm a regular dude and walking in the Word. Hey, I just got back from a bike ride here, so I thought, well, I'd stop in here to the studio and talk about Leviticus here. As we're going through Leviticus here today, we're on chapter 3, and it's entitled The Fellowship Offering. The King James, I believe, says the Peace Offering. As we're going through, these are offerings or sacrifices. And when we went through Exodus, I had up behind me, I had a diagram of where this all happened in the tabernacle. I don't have that. Maybe I'll need to stick it up. But in Exodus, it talked about building the tabernacle. And now in Leviticus, it's talking about how you do those sacrifices in the tabernacle. Okay? So we talked about first the burnt offering in chapter 1, and then the grain offering in chapter 2. And now we're talking about the fellowship offering. And fellowship is, or the peace offering, it's fellowship between you and God. Okay? And we're going to talk about it toward the end, where today communion is fellowship between you and God. Okay? So this is taken from Leviticus chapter 3 here. And so I'm going to read that today. It says this: if your offering is a fellowship offering and you offer an animal from the herd, whether male or female, you are to present it before the Lord, an animal without defect. Okay? So verse 1 tells us it needs to be perfect, just like all the other things. You're going to see there's a lot of similarities as you go through these sacrifices. The first thing starting out, it has to be perfect. There's no sacrifice given that you have a defective animal or something that's crippled or whatever. Okay, it always has to be a perfect animal. So it starts out with that, and then you're going to see a lot of similarities to it, but then a different purpose for the whole thing. Verse 2, you are to lay your hand on the head of the offering and slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Again, laying your hand on it is a sign of transference, okay? Which we do that today. When we lay hands and pray for somebody, there's not some magical power that we are giving, but it's showing our kind of our transference, us praying for that person, and we lay our hands on them. Okay. Then Aaron's sons, the priest, shall splash the blood against the sides of the altar. And from the fellowship offering, you are to bring a food offering to the Lord, the internal organs and all the fat that is connected to them, both kidneys and the fat to them, near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, which you will remove with the kidneys. Then Aaron's sons are to burn it on the altar, on top of the burnt offering that is lying on the burning wood. It is a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. So all those organs and everything you're to burn. There's other times where those organs are taken out and burned outside the camp, but here they're put on the altar. Verse 6, if you offer an animal from the flock as a fellowship offering to the Lord, you are to offer a male or female without defect. If you offer a lamb, you are to present it before the Lord. Lay your hand on its head and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's sons shall splash the blood against the sides of the altar. From the fellowship offering, you are to bring the food offering to the Lord, its fat and its entire fat tail cut close to the backbone, the internal organs and all the fat that is connected to them, both kidneys with fat on them, near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, which you will remove with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as a food offering to present to the Lord. Okay? As we go through this, you're going to see, again, there's no, it doesn't matter what you, how wealthy you are, there's a sacrifice you can do, okay? So he goes down through and starts with the animals that the most wealthy people would have, but then down to the poorest that they would have. Same type of sacrifice with all of them, too. And notice, too, a lot of blood is, lost and then splashed on the altar and so forth, okay? And that goes all, we go all the way to the Gospels and with that, and how Jesus gave up his blood for us. And naturally, there was a lot of blood lost, but then blood splattered on the cross there. Verse 12. If your offering is a goat, you are to present it before the Lord. Lay your hand on its head and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's son shall splash its blood from against the sides of the altar. From what you offer, you are to present the food offering to the Lord, the internal organs and all the fat that is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat on them, near the loins, with the lobe and the liver, which you will remove from the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as a food offering, a pleasing aroma. All the fat is the Lord's. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. Wherever you live, you must not eat any fat or any blood. Okay. So, yeah, no fat. Got the fat off your meat when you eat it, and no blood. Okay, don't be cooking stuff and making it rare, but doing that. And that was the way they were supposed to live, and that was the way they were supposed to do this fellowship offering, this peace offering. And again, this offering was just to show really communion between God and you, and also the priest. The priest was involved with it. So there was kind of this three-way thing going on there with that. Today, we have, you might say, that same type of sacrifice, but it's communion. Okay, it's not exactly the same thing, and it's not legalistic. Like you got to do communion, but communion also signifies that thing. It signifies fellowship with God. Okay. When I take communion, it's I'm remembering the blood of Jesus and how he died for my sins. But then it's communion with me, with God, and it's also with the church too. So that's it kind of all ties in. You're going to see the book of Leviticus. It ties in really well with the New Testament if you look at it closely. So anyway, let's look at the sin offering tomorrow. And Lord's blessing, I will see you tomorrow.